Well, in our legal segment today with the Higgins Firm, we're talking about a case where a will was found invalid. Witnesses in this case didn't sign in the correct place. Attorney Jim Higgins with the Higgins Firm recently stopped by to explain. And Jim is back on the show. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us about this case where this will was found invalid. What happened here?
Yeah, this is a great example of how little mistakes can make a big difference and how it's important to make sure your will, your powers of attorney, your trust, that they got to be done correctly. And what happened in this case is a person had done a will. And in that will, there were a few heirs that they had intentionally left out, didn't want to leave them anything. And those heirs challenged the will. And they didn't challenge it saying my grandfather in this case didn't know what he was doing, or he was under duress, these other things. They said, hey, they didn't sign this will correctly. And what it was is a will in Tennessee, if it's not all handwritten, has to be witnessed by two independent witnesses, and they have to either watch the person sign it, or the person has to say, hey, that's my signature.
Right.
The witnesses have to sign in front of each other.
So did that not happen?
That didn't happen. What happened is that a second document that's often signed in these is what we call a self-proving affidavit. So the witnesses don't have to go to court. They sign an affidavit and said, yeah, that was me, I signed it. So when y'all probate this thing, don't make me come to court. Well, they signed that, but they forgot to sign the will. It was just an oversight.
Oh, wow.
And so the court said, sorry, the law is pretty specific. And so the will was thrown out.
Goodness, that's one of those things you think you're safe with the lawyer, but you really need to be careful with who you work with. So tell us what happened to this estate.
Well, what happens when a will gets thrown out for whatever reason, then it just falls under what we call the intestate laws in Tennessee, and it will just go to the next of kin. So the people who challenged it, who were disinherited, they'll get their share.
So have you seen anything like this in your office? I know you work with a lot of different cases.
Sure. Well, and we have an estate probate section. This is all they do. And, part of our job is to make sure it's done right. Yeah, we have. I tell you where we see it most often is people will print a will offline, or they'll get one. And those are fine if they're done correctly, but a lot of times they're not. They're just not witnessed where they need to be. They're not signed correctly. And they can seem so silly and technical, but this is a big decision, right. and of all the things you do, it ought to be done right. And I truly think this is one, whether you call our probate section or another experienced law firm, you ought to get someone to make sure you just do it right.
Right, like you said, those little mistakes can make a big difference. All right, Jim, thanks so much.
Thank you.
The Higgins Firm is serving Tennessee. Give them a call at 1-800-705-2121 or go to thehigginsfirm.com.